Aleksej mentioned, we're going to start in a few minutes. We have a great list of questions that several of you pre-submitted, but if you have any questions during the webinar or as we're talking about things, feel free to use the Q&A functionality. And that's at the bottom of the webinar there. So you can click on that and ask questions. We'll record all those. And any we don't get to during the webinar, we'll answer afterwards in a follow-up. But super excited to be here today. Hope you guys are as well. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about the changes coming with iOS 15. I feel like marketers can't catch a break because last year was everything COVID and we did all these webinars on COVID conversations. And we're like, okay, cool. We're getting to the end of COVID. Things are going to go back to normal. And then they're like, just kidding. Don't worry about opens anymore because that may not be a metric we can actually rely on. So, especially as it's, we'll get into the details of it, but especially as it's, the release is supposed to be right before holiday sending season. And it's just not cool, Apple, not cool. Candace agrees.
Yep. It really came out of the blue. I mean, yeah. I didn't expect something like this. I was just doing my job.
Yeah.
Doing some marketing.
Or knowing Apple, they'll be like, we're going to do this. And then there'll be enough upheaval or people going like, maybe this isn't such a good idea, that they'll be like, hey, just kidding.
Let's get this thing started. Let's get into the, first, we're going to go through the list of questions that you guys have submitted when registering to the webinar. And then we will do the second half of the webinar is going to be for live questions, okay? So the first, if you allow me, Gabe, I'm going to start with the first question, which is general info about what is happening and what is going to happen to email marketing because of this. So in case you're out of the loop on this, Apple announced a couple of weeks ago that the new iOS 15 update, which is coming this fall, is going to include new mail privacy protection, which is going to do two big things. It's going to stop us and everybody else from tracking open rate data for people who are using Apple Mail. So we're not going to see whether they open or don't open their emails. And then we are also going to lose the ability to track IP geolocation information, which is a bit of a smaller thing, but still important to mention. So that's basically what's happening. Email marketing is not going to die because of that, but that means that open rate data is not going to be reliable anymore. It's not going to exist pretty much eventually, because if a certain large percentage of all open rate data is unreliable, that means that the entire 100% of data is unreliable. And also data shows that around 50% of emails are read through Apple Mail, because Apple Mail does not only include Apple email addresses, but it also includes people using the Apple Mail app to open their Gmail account, their Yahoo account, etc. So it's about 50% of all email opens. So open rates are going to die, basically, is what's going to happen. But email marketing is not, and we're going to try to answer many questions about what you need to do to prepare for that today. So another question is, when is the change taking place? We've mentioned that it's happening sometime this fall, but to be more specific, when is the change anticipated to happen, Gabe?
Yeah, so the dates I've heard are mid-September. I've heard as specifically as September 15th. So I think, now getting ahead of it, especially as we're just entering the beginning of July, this is a great opportunity to implement all the strategies you need to implement to not rely on opens and look at other engagement metrics, which we'll talk about. And I'm gonna give you guys a little homework assignment before we leave today to challenge you guys and start implementing some of these strategies that will be a little bit scary at first, but will ultimately make your email performance much, much better and more efficient.
Yep, this is definitely going to be a challenge, but this is not something that's going to, that's going to make our job irrelevant, right? We're going to continue being marketers and continue doing what we're doing. So don't worry, guys. So I've heard all kinds of dates between mid-September and mid-October and even November. So I also believe that it's going to be sometime in September, but just in case it happens in September and not November, you cannot just sit around and hope that it's going to happen in November and there's still a lot of time. you have to prepare now. So that's why we're here for the Q&A, right?
Absolutely. And it's going to be fun
So
because all
yeah.
the shock bloggers in the email space that like to write once a year, emails dead, they can't write that this year because we have to change the narrative on them a little bit. So it will be disappointing to see all the LinkedIn posts of emails dead. There needs to be other channels that we're focusing on because I don't know what content I'm going to read, but it'll be interesting to see how they change that narrative a little bit.
Yeah. Now, another interesting question. It says, how does this affect me? So this
Question.
probably means, how does this affect not email marketing in general, but me as an email marketer? What does that mean that I will have to do differently? So I thought about this question before we started, and there's two different sides to this. So number one, your mindset is going to have to change the way that you look at your email marketing's performance. You will not be able to determine everything based on mainly based on the open rates, right? Obviously, what we're trying to drive is engagement with our brand and revenue. But what we do is we often look at the open rates and we kind of disregard the other more important metrics. So there will have to be. I'm sorry, my English is terrible today. There will have to be a mindset shift. You will not have open rates anymore, so you will have to start relying on the other more important metrics, but you're just not used to relying on them. That's the problem. So it's going to take some time. There's going to be some friction inside of your brain, but it's going to go away eventually. That's what we believe. And number two, you are going to have to prepare technically. So your automation splits, for example, that are based on whether people opened or did not open an email, you will not be able to have those splits anymore. You will not be able to do A/B testing of email subject lines based on open rates to determine which subject line is doing better. You cannot, because you will not have open rates. So things like that, you're just going to have to get used to working without open rates, like segmenting people based on other things, not open data, doing more personalized automations without open data, things like that. You're going to have to adjust. We're going to get into more detail with the other questions about these things.
And Lexi, I think, the A/B testing on subject lines, because I know that was one of the questions that we had about that, is there's not going to be any more of like the 20-20-60, right? Like send to 20%, 20%, see how it performs, and send. You can still do 50-50 splits. And that's what you're going to have to do, because you're going to have to look at the full picture of engagement and, success of that email. And one of the things I think as we go through this process, again, this is stuff I preach every day to our customers. So I get super excited about it. And I'll probably repeat myself 1,000 times, but I get really excited, is the idea of the people you're emailing should be seen as an audience, right? And if you think of the word audience, right? If you're part of an audience at a concert, like you paid a ticket to go there, like you want to be there. If you go see a movie and you're part of the audience, again, you paid to get there. It's a choice that you wanted to be there, and you've actually shown up, and you've committed some sort of level of time and effort to get there. Oftentimes, the CEOs of our companies, or the owners of the companies, see their email list as property, right? And so we have to kind of shift the narrative of what is an audience versus what's an email list. And so one of the strategies we're going to walk through, and I'll find the right time to bring this up, is, how do you build a segment that kind of taps into all of the different bits of engagement, so we have an audience that's an audience, not just a list. So, it's going to be scary, because some of you probably have like 100,000 contacts on your list, and we're going to build an audience, and you're going to see it go to like 50 or 60,000. And you're like, well, what the heck did I do with these 40,000 people? And you're like, well, yeah, that's 40,000 people. But if they're not fitting into these restraints of the segment that we're going to build, it means they haven't purchased from you in a certain amount of time. They haven't clicked an email in a certain amount of time. We're going to incorporate opens now just to kind of ease the transition a little bit. They haven't opened your emails, and they haven't, and we're going to exclude anybody who recently opted in. So it's going to kind of, give you this nice group of, hey, these are people that actually want to hear from me. And if they're not in that group, it means that they've received a lot of emails. They've never opened them. They've never clicked. They've never purchased from you. And so at this point, they're kind of dead weight. And so it's like, why are you still emailing them? Why? Like, And, we can do some things where we kind of back off the frequency we email campaigns to them with, or we just unsubscribe them, because if they really want to resubscribe, they can fill out your pop-up, and if they're unsubscribed, they'll be marked as active again. And so we just have to kind of get in our mindset of that is, when I look at the performance of my email audience and my email list, who's really buying and clicking from me? And over and over and over again, I convince my customers to do this. And all of a sudden they see that they're sending to half their list and they're actually making more revenue because the ISPs see the performance of the email and they go, you know what, this is pretty good stuff and people are engaging with it. Let's make sure more people see it. Let's make sure more people see it. And so you eliminate those random spam placements. And so people actually see revenue going up. People are engaging with the brand more. That helps your SEO because you've got more traffic to your site. You see more retargeting because people are buying from you and they're clicking on your links. And so Facebook is going, hey, Lexi and Gabe, you look like you're the same demographic and you're both interested in, paddle boards. I'm just using paddle boards because I talked to a paddleboard customer this morning, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm kind of like angsting for one, but I haven't bit the bullet on that yet. So, all of those things are coming into play. And see, I get really excited about this stuff because that was like a really long diatribe, but this is the stuff we have to start really pondering about and really kind of challenging ourselves of the way we've thought before is, just because I have 100,000 people on my list, it doesn't mean I have 100,000 people in my audience that actually want to hear from me. And how do we start differentiating those? And the iOS update is kind of forcing our hand at this point. Good news is we've got several months to kind of slowly pull that Band-Aid off so we don't have to, it's going to feel like a little bit of a gut punch, I promise, but it'll work out.
Yep, I think you brought up a very important point that we still have a few months to prepare. Open rates are not gone yet, so we still can clean up our audience using open rate data. We still can A/B test our automation subject lines for our welcome and abandoned cart automations to make sure that they're perfect before we no longer have the ability to do that because we're not going to have the data. So we still have the time to prepare. We should do everything that we can with this time. And for that, we have to start like a few months in advance. Now, let's see if we have any more questions that I wanted to answer here. One of the funny ones was, will it make the mail go to spam? And no, it will not. Everything should be fine with the deliverability. Another one.
And just on that too,
yep.
because I know I've had a ton of questions about this. So Gmail and Hotmail, which are obviously the biggest ISPs out there in terms of engagement metrics and looking at opens and that kind of stuff. I know the panic is, will Gmail know if people are opening the message or not? Or is Gmail going to just blanket put everybody into spam because it looks like everybody's opening? And Gmail and Hotmail will still have their own flags. They'll still know like what's getting opened and what's being ignored. And that's why we're going to look at all this other behavioral data to make sure that, again, Hotmail and Gmail, I mean, I've worked with some I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old kid, and it like I've worked with I've worked with customers that like I would never want them to see in terms of content being sent. However, that content being sent has really high engagement. So it gets to the inbox, a lot of times even to the primary tab, because believe it or not, when those types of emails get sent, it doesn't matter if they're sending to 1 million people, they get like 60, 70% open rates because that's stuff that people want to see, whether they want to admit it or not. And so it gets engagement, and so the ISPs deliver it. So, Gmail and Hotmail will still track that engagement. They'll still make sure that things that need to get to the inbox will get to the inbox, and things that are going to be spammy are going to go to the spam folder.
I love how you always find an excuse to bring up your kids and your family. Even when talking about the most kid unfriendly stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's COVID. We've been spending 18 months together in a house, so they're constantly there and a reminder, but they're good.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, basically the marketers that really deliver the value to their customers and not only see their email audience as a list for making money, those are who are still going to be fine and are not going to feel the change too much, except for the mindset shift. But it's basically everything is in your hands, is what I'm trying to say here. Now, let's see if there's any more questions that I wanted to address here before moving on to the live Q&A. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you, Gabe, wanted to address maybe? Anything
I saw a good question. They said, how is this going to affect SMS? And if you're not, I'll give you a couple homework assignments. We still haven't gotten to the main one with segmentation, but if you have not played around with SMS at all, I definitely recommend that you try it out. SMS is a channel that's shown success, and we've never had opens in SMS, right? There's no way to track an open in SMS. So you're constantly relying on the engagement metrics of click-throughs and purchases as in terms of what's an active SMS audience. It's still unique enough that there's still a very much like a batch and blast or spray and pray, however you want to say it, mentality when it comes to SMS. But we are starting to see people starting to implement some targeted strategies there, and they're seeing good success with it. So if you're on the pro plan or enterprise plan with Omnisend, you get free credits. If you're not on the new pro plan and you're not getting SMS credits, just hit up our support team and we'll help you get modified on that. But definitely try to play around with SMS. SMS is a little bit more strict with their opt-in practices and those kind of things. But again, this is a great opportunity to kind of start implementing, start toying with, start trying it out, see how your audience engages with it, and then going from there. So no, the iOS 15 update won't impact SMS deliverability whatsoever. That's all carrier-based and not device-based.
And another interesting one that came into the live Q&A already that I think is important to address is, wasn't the iOS 15 email change a subscription-based thing? So there is one part of the change, which is part of the iCloud Plus subscription, which is hide my email. The hide my email feature basically replaces your email address with a randomly generated one so that the merchants do not see your real actual email address. But this is not the thing that we're talking about. And this is not going to be used as widely as the major mail privacy protection changes.
Yeah.
And I think there was another one kind of around this. I don't see where I lost it somewhere, but there was one very similar one. What did it say? Oh, I think I wanted to actually add this when trying to address this question.
Sure.
Or there was a similar question. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But basically, this was about whether people will be able to opt out of this, or is everyone going to opt in for this feature for hiding the open rate tracking data? Oh, I remember now. There's a question right there. Will there be an anonymous way for subscribers to still show their email behaviors to the company? There we go. So yes, the short answer is yes, people will be able to disable this, but by default, it's going to be enabled for everyone, at least from the information we have and from how Apple usually do these things. So it's going to be enabled for everyone, and a lot of people are not even going to notice. A lot of people are not going to know where to find this thing to turn it off, and a lot of people are not going to care. So for the majority of people, we expect that this is going to stay on. But if people decide to, they will have the option to disable it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was very chaotic.
No, that's totally fine. And I mean, I think like anything with changes like this, you know, I remember when back in my day when I was a young wee email marketer, I realized that this morning I've been almost doing it a decade, which is crazy in email terms.
Yeah.
But when Gmail rolled out promotion tabs and the different tabs, and everyone panicked, and it's like, this is the death of the inbox. No one's going to open emails anymore. If anything, we saw like a rise in open rates and a rise in engagement, because people then went to the promotion tab with the intent to shop, versus when it was all in one place, they'd kind of click through all the noise, delete those, and then focus on their personal stuff. And then now it's like, okay, I'm in personal mode, I'm checking my inbox. Now I'm in shopping mode, so I'm going through the promotion tab. And it's, you know, you can kind of think of it that way. So again, it's just a change in mindset. And, you know, I think this may be a good opportunity to kind of give you guys a little bit of a homework assignment. So, oh, it says you disabled screen sharing. So I don't know if I can share my screen.
Let me see if I can allow you to screen share. Let's see if I can make you the host. Maybe that. Yep.
Okay.
There we go. You're the host now.
Okay, perfect. Now
there
I can
you
share
go.
my screen.
Now you can share.
All right,
yep.
Excellent. And we'll do this one. Okay. All right, so you can see like where it says all contacts. Okay,
Yep.
perfect. So this is our demo account. So this is completely falsified data. But what I want you all to do on the call today is you can create a segment of engaged users. So if you're sending everybody today, where you just go in, you click a campaign, and you create send, and you select all contacts. Obviously, that's going to everybody on your list. So what I would recommend doing is I would start with email channel subscribe, just to get a real account of who's actually subscribed to receive emails. Because when you first come to this all contact page, that number at the top is every contact in your database, whether they're non-subscribed, so we've picked them up because they've started a checkout process, or they're unsubscribed because they've received emails and marked unsubscribed. So we want to get the first number. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a separate role here. And basically, we go through what is our broadest range of engagement, all the way down to what should we be really strict about in terms of what really makes sense. And the thing I want you guys to think about is you kind of have to start mentally preparing yourself as a consumable product good. So if you're selling stuff online, the way a consumable product marketer has to market to their audience. So think of like, nutrition supplements or pet food, where these people should be coming back to your store and buying every couple weeks, right? 2 weeks, 30 days. And if they're not, if I buy from you a 30-day supply and then I'm gone for 4 months, there's a good chance I'm not coming back, right? Like I bought a 30-day supply, I haven't purchased from you again in 4 months. Like I'm kind of over your brand. I'm not doing it anymore. Maybe I had a bad experience, whatever. Or I found you locally and I'm buying it through a different channel. So kind of be in that mindset of it. Versus if you're selling leather jackets and we have seasons, I may be buying a leather jacket once a year, once every other year. And you kind of have to balance that out, because if you're selling a really good high quality leather jacket, it's going to seem weird that you expect me to buy one every year if it's supposed to last many years. So you kind of have to have that mentality, right? So anyway, so we'll place order. So these are just default, play around with them a little bit. But my thing is like, okay, if I have a product and someone's going to buy it seasonally, maybe grandma buys this thing for her grandkids every year, I'm going to give her a little bit of a cushion. So I'm going to say a year plus 2 months. So this is my order window, right? So I want to email anybody who's placed an order in the last 14 months. So that's my first kind of logic that I start building out. Then if I click this plus sign, this is going to nest it within the same functionality here. And the next functionality of engagement I'm going to look at is going to be clicked email, because that's a higher intent to purchase than someone just opening the email. So I'm going to click email campaign link. And depending on how many emails you send, my thing is like, this is kind of like the very fringes of what I think a good engagement looks like. So I'm going to look at 12 months. And so again, this is people who have just clicked an email campaign in the last 12 months. If I'm sending an email 5 times a week times 52 weeks, this is literally saying, hey, if you clicked one of the 250 emails I've sent you, I still want to send you email. When you put it like that perspective, it's like, okay, maybe that's a lot. And even if I back it down to like, I send a email every other week, this is still, I've sent you 24 emails and you've clicked 1 time at a bare minimum. So you still have to ask yourself, if I email somebody 24 times and they reply 1 time, like, are they really that engaged with me? But I get we have email lists and you never know what's going to trigger somebody to purchase. So I want to be, aware of that and sensitive of that, because we have large lists. And again, this can be a sobering experience. And then again, we're going to click that plus sign and we're going to go open email. And again, this is not going to be as crucial, but this is going to start getting us in that direction. So I usually say about 6 months. Again, this is sort of the bare minimum engagement, is someone opened your email, whether it was accidental or intentional, right? If I click the preview, the way we track opens now are pixels in the header. So if someone even just looks at the preview, it's going to track as an open. 6 months. And then the last bit of this is you've got two other features here, because we want to make sure we include the most recent people. So if someone just signed up, we obviously don't want to exclude them from our campaign sends. So we can have email opt-in is in the last, I usually just do 3 months. So that gets them 90 days to engage with our brand before they've signed up and they just never engage. And then I also include this other field, date added. There's some fringe cases where if you're importing contacts, maybe their opt-in doesn't get updated, they get added. So I always add this. I don't know if I actually need to, but I always do as just a safeguard. Date added is in the last 3 months. And all of this is OR logic. So all of these things are working together. So I'll leave this up here. I'll blow this up a little bit so you guys can create a screenshot of it. In our follow-up email to the webinar, we'll include the screenshot so you have the logic. I wish I could just copy and paste this segment into all of your accounts. I can't do that. But this is something I challenge you guys to do, is to build this segment, save it, and then execute your next campaign on it and just see how it performs. Okay, so at first you're going to be like, I'm sending to 20,000 people instead of 100,000 people. Your open rates are going to go up. That's key, because these are people more likely to engage with your brand. But what I want you to look at is the number of clicks and the revenue. Does your revenue maintain or actually go up? The first one you may see like maybe a little bit level. Keep trying, keep playing with it. The other thing that people will struggle with is they say, hey, as I'm keep sending my engage segment, it's getting smaller. Why is that? All of these segments are dynamic. So if someone's in this segment and they go past the time frame of not engaging, they're going to drop out. If you see this engaged segment getting smaller and smaller, that's where you need to shift your effort and go, okay, what am I doing in terms of customer acquisition, right? So what am I doing to get people to actually start at the top of the funnel? And then what am I also looking at in my retention metrics? How am I following up my purchases? And again, putting all these things into place now are going to help you out. So for people who purchase from you, obviously you're sending an order confirmation, but what other kind of follow-ups are you doing? Are you doing a review request? Do you have a loyalty program in place? Are you doing a thank you note, right? One of the easiest campaigns you can set up is orders confirmed, wait 2 weeks. That gives them enough time to ship the product, get the product, use the product, and you send an email that's like, hey, thanks so much for your purchase from us. We hope you're loving your product. We love to hear this, like hear from our customers. You know, send an email here, post on Instagram with this tag, show us you using the product, get them to engage with it, because that starts building brand loyalty through that story. But yeah, so this is the segment I recommend you guys starting with and trying it out. Send a campaign to it. That is your homework. You have 1 week to do it. I'm going to call all of you next Wednesday. No, I'm not. But if you do have good success with it, you can email Gabe and or I'm using third person myself. You can email me and Aleksej. My email address is just Gabe@Omnisend. Aleksej is just Aleksej@Omnisend.com. Or just reply to the follow-up that we send you guys. And we want to see your results, and we want to see, like, did it improve your metrics across the board? And obviously revenue is going to be the biggest one there. So I'll pause there for a second. I'll leave that up there just so if anyone has, if anyone still needs to take a screenshot of it, I'll leave it up there for 30 more seconds.
I love that, Gabe. I wish you could just keep going for the rest of this. I mean, this was amazing and very, very informative and very actionable, which I absolutely love. So I've taken a screenshot too. So we're definitely going to share this segment in the follow-up email, which everybody should be receiving in 24 hours. There's going to be an automated email from Zoom, and we are also going to include the recording of the session there as well. So in case you missed the beginning or have to leave early, we're going to include the recording in there as well. And I also shared our contact emails in the chat, so Perfect. You can reach us there and let us know how it went with this campaign to this engaged audience segment.
Excellent.
Now, another important question that I wanted to address, and I think we're going to do this as a last one for the prepared ones, and then we're going to see if we will have any questions in the live Q&A. There's plenty of people, a couple dozens here today, so hopefully you guys are going to be active and ask questions, and we will be happy to answer them. But the last question that we're going to do from the prepared list is, what resources do you recommend to keep up with the iOS 15 updates? And we have something called opensaredead.com. I'm going to post the link for that into the chat right now. There we go, opensaredead.com. And that's that's something that's curated by Omnisend, and that's like our single hub, our single source of truth for information about the iOS 15 updates. All of the news, funny memes, tweets, and actionable things that you need to do to prepare, all of that you can find there. So definitely add it to your bookmarks on your browser and keep an eye out for that every now and then to stay in the loop.
Yeah, and in addition to that, if any of you come across great resources, one of the things that, like, I love working for Omnisend is we're passionate about this stuff and we love hearing from customers. So if you all come across a great resource, like share it with us. We'd love to see it. We'd love to include it in our Opens Are Dead. You'll see that there's all kinds of content out there. If you've written something yourself, feel free to share it with us. We'd love to hear from you guys as you go through this process. So yeah. So and one of the questions I have for the audience, I'd be curious to know, and you guys can just put this in you all can just put this in the chat, is there anyone on the call today that doesn't rely solely on open rates when looking at performance? And if you don't rely on open rates solely, what's your go-to metric in terms of measuring email performance?
Let's do this. Put a plus sign in the chat if you rely on open rates only, and put a minus sign in the chat if you rely on something else, and then add an explanation. This way is going to be less typing.
There you go.
So we don't get people to type so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Skylar participated.
Now, also,
we
while we're waiting for people to yep, thank you, Skylar. The other people are just not sure.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that on the website itself, on Opens Are Dead, there's a button that says Get Featured. So you can send it to us, or you can just use the button to submit your content to the website. And if it's good, we're going to feature it.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Yeah. And, again, just kind of reiterating the point over and over and over again is iOS 15 is going to be a change in how we do things, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. And, I saw some questions in the prepared list too about product updates and what is Omnisend doing to make sure that we're keeping up with the time, right? And I will tell you that I've had a number of conversations with our product team, and they're starting to already explore a whole bunch of different opportunities from, the segment I built is, one of the things we're looking at is adding site behavior to those. So we're already tracking browse behavior, product views, cart behavior, those types of things. And so one of the goals is to add that capability to segmentation. So as soon as we identify a user on the website and we know who that person is, we can then start utilizing that behavior as well. So maybe someone doesn't click through an email in the last nine months or whatever, but they've been on your site and we know who they are because of whatever cookies are being tracked or whatever behavior they're having on the site. So those types of metrics are going to be super important in terms of creating those segments to track behavior across the site. Some of the things that we're talking about too is, one of the conversations I had with them is, what would you think if we just removed opens and percent of open rate on the reporting dashboards? How do you think customers would handle that? And my initial reaction was like, whoa, that's a big change. Bold move there, Cotton, if you're a dodgeball fan. Kind of like, but I love that Omnisend is kind of, the mentality is, hey, we're gonna maybe go bold here and really do something different and really kind of push people towards, how do you measure success in email marketing that's not just reliant on those opens? So, and I saw Candace Love, she uses the click-through rate, which is exactly a good metric to look at. And again, revenue, right? So going all the way back, we'll go full circle. When we send to an email audience, it doesn't matter how many people you're sending to or how few people you're sending to, as long as the dollars are there, because we send emails to make money for the most part. Every once in a while, we'll send a content-based email because it's a good feeling and we want to make sure we're engaging with our audience, building brand awareness. But ultimately, when we build an email and then build a campaign or set up an automation, we click send or activate that automation, the first thing we're going to look for is, did we generate revenue? Did we generate an order based on this automation or this email campaign? That is what we're looking for. Because if I have 5 people open my email, but I get $1 million order, I'm okay with that, because the person that needed to order $1 million worth of stuff opened and engaged with my email. I would take that every day than, a 99% open rate and no revenue. So I think moving towards those metrics and starting to really kind of focus in on those and just kind of starting to ignore open rate now will set you up perfectly as this iOS 15 update is released.
And I would also like to add that, open rates, while they are a very good early indicator of how a campaign is going to perform or an automated email is going to perform, they don't really mean anything. They're kind of like a vanity metric in their essence. We at Omnisend Academy, we send a lot of emails not to make revenue, but to generate activity inside of our platform and to drive more people to get educated and to get better results. Because when you guys grow, we grow, right? And we also we've run into several cases where we would have emails with 50% open rates, which is great, but with like a 1% click rate, which doesn't really do anything for us, which is no significant impact. And then we have a 30% open rate email that has a 9% click rate, which is significant. So it is a good early indicator, but it doesn't always show the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and so we've got some more questions in too, and then I've got a tangential conversation because or topic, but we'll get there. So one of the questions was, will we still get open rate data if people are using PCs and Android phones? Yes, absolutely. You'll still get that data. How we're going to leverage it, I don't know yet exactly. So we're going to figure that out. But if you have feedback or thoughts or suggestions on it, we'd love to hear from our customers and ideas. And then the other one is, what would your advice be to someone who hasn't emailed their list in about 9 months? And there's some self-realization that maybe they've been a little bit bad about that, which is great because that's the first step, is admitting you have a problem, right? So now we solve the problem. So if you haven't emailed your list in about 9 months, depending on the size of your list, you want to be very mindful of it, and be transparent. So I would recommend recommend in your subject line things like, hey, we've been missing, or kind of like, depending on your brand voice, like maybe be a little bit funny, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, definitely approach humor. I'd also probably recommend, if you've done discounts in the past or you haven't, is maybe do like a bigger sale and kind of be like, hey, we haven't done a good job of connecting with you all, so we want to say we're sorry, we're back with a bang. Like 4th of July is coming up, great opportunity to use that sort of, we're here with a bang, right? Like fireworks. People love puns, people love humors. It'll guarantee open rate or click rates and stuff. People will engage with your emails if they're humored by it. But I would definitely come back with like a bigger sale, and just be transparent and candid about it. The other opportunity you can do there is, and again, depending on the size of your list, you may want to warm it up slow. So kind of, if you have 10,000 people, what I might do is split that list in half and send 5,000 people one day and 5,000 people the next day, just to kind of get the ISPs going, oh, this person hasn't sent emails in a while, they're sending again from us. If you've got automations running in the background, I wouldn't worry about it. If your list is bigger than 10,000, you would want to split it up even further, just because you don't want to overload. If you go from nothing to 100, it's going to be a little creaky. It's going to be a little creaky when you first start. So be patient with that process. But yeah, and then obviously with the segment that we built, you've got some flexibility in there. And I would just expand those metrics or expand those windows a little bit, just so you can make sure that you get a good audience there to split up. And then I had this great thought, and now I have to remember what it was. Oh, I do remember what it was. So as we talk about like the value of opens, right? People open emails, that's great, but really we're trying to drive traffic so we can drive revenue. So one of the things this is a good opportunity too, is not only how do we segment our audience to make sure we're getting a good engagement, but how are we designing our emails? And one of the best advice I can give all of my customers is to go talk to your customer support team and ask them, when we send an email, what questions are you getting, right? And you'll get things like, people didn't know where to click on the email to buy this product. So make sure when you're building an email, and if you look at email design, people need to be told, here's the big red button. This is where you need to push if you're interested in buying. So if you have a beautiful hero image and it doesn't say click here, they're going to scroll away from that. Or like, I'll see a lot of times people will have like, a beautiful lifestyle image and they're a clothing brand and it's a big sale, save 20% off. And there's no like, click here to shop now, or click here to save, or click here to check our newest products. You have to tell people specifically what you want them to do, or they won't do it. So put that text overlay, put those clear call to action buttons, make sure they're above the fold. So when someone receives that email and they have the preview pane, they can do a quick glance and, they're going to click the button. Amazon is a perfect example of this. Their buttons are all over those emails because they know that if there's a button, people will click and people will buy. And yeah, so just tell people what to do. They won't figure it out on their own.
Speaking of examples, I love looking at examples from Apple.
Yeah.
that we're talking about today, right? I loved looking at examples from Apple. I always find them on reallygoodemails.com, and they literally have 2 lines of text and a button. That's
Yep.
all that their emails are. Seriously, if Apple is doing this, then that means that it's
Right.
working.
Yeah, because they've got a whole
Yeah.
bunch of data scientists looking at all that stuff.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
even if we don't have the resources, if we're an entrepreneur and it's just us and we're building emails and fulfilling orders and all those types of things, sometimes simpler is better. We've all heard the acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Like, keep it simple. Like, main hero image, easy call to action, maybe some product recommendations using one of our dynamic product blocks. You don't have to think about it. Limit the content, keep it simple. People will love you for it.
And I love the comment from Candice. We've been gone for 9 months because our company had a virtual baby. Here's a discount to help celebrate. Well,
Exactly.
that's a creative solution.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Okay, we don't have any more live questions in the Q&A right now. And we're just about to hit the 45-minute mark. So let's see if we have any more. Here's your last chance. Let's create some urgency, like with emails.
Yep. If we only had a
So,
countdown
yep,
timer, it would be going.
yep. Do we have to change our automations? Well, if your automations are based on, if the trigger is based on open rate data, then you do have to change that. And if you have any splits that are based on opens, you have to change that.
Yeah, and Candice, I think you've got some time to do this. I think it also depends on the copy in your email. So the idea being like, if it's, I see in your first question you put if not opened in 24 hours resend. If your copy's, hey, you might have missed the first email, so here it is again. I think you could probably keep it because you're going to have people opening on PC and Android devices, and you can kind of be flexible with that. You do have the ability to do if not clicked within 24 hours resend. So that may actually broaden the number of people that actually re-get that email and maybe even drive some more conversions. So definitely some things to play around and test. In the automations in Omnisend, you can do that 50-50 split. So it may be worthwhile setting up a 50-50 split, keeping the one with opens and changing one to clicks, and kind of using this time now to see which one's actually performing better in terms of revenue driven there. So, see it as an opportunity to learn more about your customers.
A general, very, very general but important piece of advice I would give is just experiment as much as possible right now. While for the next few months, while we have the time, just experiment as much as possible. And you're going to learn more about your customers. You're going to find out what works best for your business, because we don't have one size fits all solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to do a lot of experimentation, and that's what improving your email strategy is about. That's what we do here at Omnisend all the time. We experiment, we try different things, we try to send reminders, we do a lot of different experiments. So you have to do that as well.
Yeah, and we got a couple more questions too. So Skylar asked,
Yep.
Should we wait to change that so we can see current stats as well? I think that ties directly into kind of the testing recommendation, is testing like opens versus clicks and seeing you've got that side-by-side split there. So you've got some time to do that. And then Alice asked, if someone opens, can you add a tag so you can see that those have engaged to go to an automation? So you can add a tag in the automation if someone opens. One of our segment updates that product is currently working on is adding the ability to track engagement with automations in addition to campaigns. So the tag is the workaround for now, but hopefully in the future, you won't have to tag anybody. It'll be automatically included in segmentation there for you, Alice.
I just realized that I probably haven't scrolled down and there were more questions in the chat,
Yeah.
and I said that there's no more questions because I haven't scrolled down.
We got them all. We're good.
Yep. We got them all now. So, yep. So let's wrap up for today, I think, unless we get like another last minute question. Thank you so much. I'm new to this. Awesome, Alice. Thank you so much for asking these questions. We're happy to talk about this stuff. So to wrap up, we hope that we answered everything, all of your questions, so you have a better understanding of what's going to happen now. Don't forget the homework assignment that Gabe talked about, the segment he showed. Actually, if you could share the screen again right now with the segment, would be really helpful. So your last chance to take a screenshot. And then we will also email it to you in 24 hours. So this is your homework assignment. segment your audience based on this and try sending to this list and see how this, or to this audience, as Gabe likes to call it today, and see how that performs. Okay. And that being said, that's all we have for today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lexi, for having me. Always enjoy our chats.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Gabe. You shared, as always, you shared a lot of great insights. I feel like I'm an email marketer. I feel like I'm on the other side of this here today. You talked so much with so much expertise that you shared. I absolutely loved listening to it myself. So thank you so much, Gabe.
And I love seeing Candace Bell raise her hand because I know she's an avid attendee of our webinars, and so she knows if you got success, if you got something out of this, you can go ahead and raise your hand to tell us. There you go. Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you all so much. You enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody. And don't hesitate to reach out to Lexi or myself. We're on LinkedIn. You can email us directly. Both of us have pretty unique names, so you can find us. There's not many of us out there.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.